Hi guys, and welcome to day 17 of the 25 sessions of Christmas series. Today we're looking at some game constraints focused around pressing, both in terms of how to initiate the press, how to win the ball, and also what happens if the press gets beaten. If you're looking for an easy way to plan sessions, then our session builder can certainly help. Simply select the practices that you want, drag them into the order that you want to run them in, and then have them saved on your phone ready for your next training session. And the best thing is you can try it risk-free for 21 days at foundationagecoaching.com. So we're going to be looking at 3 constraints today. Now this game is really simple. If we look at the last 2 weeks, they're where we've looked at game constraints. The first week we looked at thirds. Last week we looked at channels. Today we're breaking the pitch into halves. The first rule is if your team is allowed to win the ball back in the opposition's half and go and score as a result of it, whether it's the person who wins it dribbling and scoring or whether you win it and able to move it onto someone else who scores, then the goal is worth 3. Now the reason you might do this is if you want to encourage that reaction to go and win the ball high up the pitch. If you're a coach who likes high pressing, if you're a coach who wants your teams going chasing after the ball and trying to win it back and trying to really embrace, especially with your under 8s and your under 9s, you really want to embrace that mentality of going to get the ball off the opposition because they all want it, then this is a really good constraint to try and encourage that kind of mentality in your players. One of the risks of this constraint, of course, is that players may very well all go chasing the ball, and if the press gets beaten, then the goalkeeper's going to be left on their own with no one protecting them. So it's also an opportunity for you to step in and talk about cover and making sure that even though we've got players pressing the ball, we still need those supporting players behind them, those covering players behind them, should I say, who are going to help protect the space in front of the goal and behind the ball. The second constraint is kind of a touch up on the first, especially if you've got an older team, say under 10, under 11, under 12, and you're playing offside. And that is, in order for a goal to be worth 3, then everybody, with the exception of the goalkeeper, needs to be in the opposition half when the goal is scored. Now, of course, what you're looking to do here is, especially if you've got a team who's still getting used to offside, is encouraging them to push forward to the halfway line so that if they do get caught on the break, there's a really good opportunity that they might catch the opponent's offside. Players that age are still learning how to deal with the rules. There's a real good chance that the opponents might get called ball watching rather than watching what your team are doing. So you can constrain them to encourage them to be able to push up to the halfway line every time their team is attacking. Of course, it's a very risky strategy, something you know the players are going to have to pick and choose their moments. If the opposition are leaving 2 or 3 forward, then you might want to encourage them to stay back and just go for a 1-point goal instead of a 3-point goal, because ultimately it's still a point. The final constraint is to encourage recovery runs after the press is beaten. Now, one thing I've noticed with younger kids is a lot of them like to go and chase the ball, but as soon as they're beaten, I'm not worried about defending. I'll let the goalkeeper deal with it, I'll let the defender deal with it, and we want to put something in place which is going to encourage them to get back and support the keeper or support the players who are playing a little bit further closer to their own goal. So the constraint is if the opposition score a 3-pointer, but you've got everybody on your team back in your own half of the pitch, then the goal is only worth 2. So once again, it's encouraging the team out of possession to actually make that effort to get back, reduce the risk of the opposition scoring as many points as they can. When you're throwing these constraints in, make sure you keep track of the score. You might want to put it on the whiteboard. You might want to ask the kid who scores the goal to come over and put down how many points the goal is worth. And that way you can really add that competitive element to your practice as well. So players are not only thinking about following constraints, but also if they've got a lead, they'll just be worried about scoring regular goals rather than having to focus on the 3-pointers. Whereas, of course, the opposition, if they're losing, they're going to have to try and score the 3-pointers a lot quicker. So it's really going to encourage those constraints and those conditions to come out in the players. If you like the series so far, then make sure you subscribe to follow for day 18 tomorrow and give us a thumbs up if you like the video.